into Module 4.2, which is the male reproductive system. And do take note that for the male reproductive system, ang hormones ay pinaka-importante. We're gonna be looking at 3 important parts of that. So the objective for this is to discuss the hypothalamic, pituitary, gonadal, or HPG axis that regulates the male reproductive system. So there are 3 important parts then. Of course, you can see that already. It is the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and also the gonad. So isa-isahin natin kung paano yung mga hormones nito will help in the production of the sperm cell, at the same time will help with the development of the male characteristics dyan. Okay, so I hope you are excited. So these are the videos to watch. Pakitingnan na lamang yung ating Google Classroom at saka yung ating LT1 guide for you to get the link and watch that. Now, to make it very fast here, do take note na the hormonal control is actually being controlled by what we call as homeostasis. Now, you're very familiar with this one. Stasis in, I think it's Greek yata or Latin, but it's the original language. It means something that is passive, something that is not being changed. It is being maintained. So the objective of homeostasis is to maintain the status quo. And that actually what happens inside of our body. It is a maintenance of a constant internal environment, and this would be including the principle of feedback mechanism. So in our body, it's very interesting how our body tries to control both the internal and internal environment natin as the external environment changes. I think you're very familiar with this one. Okay, kung kayo ay nakapasok na sa fast food na sobrang lamig, can you give me a heart reaction? Okay, kung nakapasok na kayo sa fast food or isang tawag ito, institution or building na sobrang lamig, okay, every one of us have experienced that. Ano ang reaction natin? When you go inside, unang-una, mararamdaman ng skin natin because yes, it's very cold, that's right. Nararamdaman ng receptors in our skin. Oh, it's very cold. Siyempre, ang receptors na ito connected sa brain natin. So there will be neurons running towards the brain and the signal will be coming from the skin. Ang lamig-lamig, dadalhin yung signal na yan. And then the brain will receive the signal and interpret it. Ay, malamig nga. And then what will the body do? It will, the brain do. The brain will send another signal towards certain parts of our body para ma-maintain yung internal temperature natin at around 37 to 37.5 degrees. So anong gagawin ng katawan natin? You would experience na nag-shiver tayo ng ganyan. And when shivering, actually, yung muscles ay nagkakaroon ng friction or they are rubbing against each other when we are shivering, and somehow nagpo-produce ito ng konting heat in order to increase the temperature para hindi masyadong malamig yung pakiramdam natin. I think you have already experienced kung yung dalawang palms ninyo ay i-rub nyo together, or you try to do that, and then you put it on your cheeks, so it's medyo hot siya ng konti. That's what actually happens in our body. Okay, can I see a thumbs up if you got that? So that is what you call as homeostatic, what you call homeostasis. Okay, that's very important there. Pagka naman sobrang init ang temperature, naramdaman ng skin natin, ay mainit. So na-detect, dadali na signal through the neurons, and then the brain will interpret that, mainit nga. So anong gagawin ng ating brain? Will send a signal to certain parts of our body, at anong mangyayari? Pagka mainit, ano ang response ng katawan? Tayo ay ano mangyayari tayo sa atin? Tayo ay mag-sweat. Okay, we will be sweating, and the water evaporating because of our internal temperature actually cools us down. So that would be homeostasis. So there are 3 important components of homeostasis. May receptor, tulad ng skin kanina. So it will be detecting the change. Merong integrating center, the brain or the spinal cord natin. So dinadala ang signal towards our brain. And there's an effector. This is the one that will be generating the response, the biological response. So from the brain, may signal na lalabas, and then ano mangyayari? Mag-shiver tayo. Yung from the brain, ano mangyayari? Mag-perspire tayo. So those would be the feedback mechanism. As shown by this picture, merong stimulus, kunwari temperature change, maramdaman ng receptors, ito yung mga sa skin natin, like the thermoreceptors in our skin, and then the signal will be brought to the integrating center, which is the brain. Sasabihin ng brain, ay, kailangan makaroon ng changes sa ating katawan para ma-maintain ang homeostasis. Parang ganun mag-isip ang brain. Ano? Okay, so ganyan, very, very fast, dadalhin sa effector yung signal, and then what will happen, there's a response, either na tayo mag-shiver or tayo ay mag-perspire depending on the context ng ating environmental temperature. Okay, can you give me a clap reaction if you get that one? Okay, very good. So, bakit natin pinag-uusapan to? Kasi ang male hormonal control ay actually, it is being controlled by feedback mechanism din. So let's make this a little bit fast. Anong klaseng feedback mechanism? There's two, positive and negative feedback mechanism. Now, the major thing you have to remember about the positive feedback mechanism is that the output, yung signal na output, if you remember, itong response na ito, the response is actually continuing, hindi nawawala. Ito ay tuloy. So let me give you one example. One example of the positive na tuloy ang response, hindi nawawala, is breastfeeding, which produces breast milk. Siyempre, ang objective ng mother, dapat ay makapag-give ng mother's milk sa baby, otherwise mawawala ng milk. Kaya anong kailangan gawin? So the baby has, in the beginning, the mother won't be able to produce any milk. Kasi syempre, simula pa lamang eh. So anong nangyari dito is the baby will now be suckling on the mother's mammary glands, and what will happen is the continuous signal of the baby suckling on the mother's mammary glands, it produces a signal na nakukuha ng brain, at nakukuha din ng what you call this, the spinal cord, and then the response is the mammary gland starts to produce milk. Siyempre, hindi mangyayari na mababawasan ng milk. Ang nangyayari actually ay dumadami ang milk as much as there is a signal. Kaya ano nangyayari? It is a positive, positive feedback mechanism. Na maalala ko pala, yung wife ko, after manganak, syempre, we started breastfeeding. Na ma-remind ko pala kayo, kasi may mga matatanda na nagsabi, kasi yung first na milk na lumalabas sa nanay ay kulay dilaw talaga. Sabi ng matatanda, ay, panis na gatas yan, itapon nyo yan. Huwag niyong itatapon yung first milk na color yellow. Kasi actually, that would contain the highest concentration of immune factors that could help the baby to develop a lot of immune system, to enhance the immune system as the baby grows up. So wag itatapon yung unang gatas sa lalabas, usually color yellow, hindi panis yan. Madami siyang immune factors lamang. Okay, kasi yan. So nangyari sa wife ko, so dinanganak na yung wife ko, tapos nag-start na breastfeed. Tapos, it was only about, I think, 1 month lamang. 1 month pa lamang siya, no? Na nagbe-breastfeed si baby. So, dumadami na yung kanyang milk. Umiinom pa ng malunggay para makatulong sa breast milk production. Biglang nagkaroon ng sakit yung wife ko. Hindi ko maintindihan kung bakit. Pero yung kanyang legs, yung kanyang binti, at saka yung kanyang hita, biglang nag-color violet. And we don't know kung bakit nag-color violet siya. So, it might have been related with, baka merong medicine. I don't know kung ano nangyari. And dinala sa hospital, sabi ng doktor, ng OB-GYN namin ay kailangan uminom ng gamot. Kaso nga lamang, yung gamot na daw yun ay mananatili sa katawan ng aking wife, hindi pwedeng mainom ni baby. So ano nangyari? Tumigil ngayon ang pagbe-breastfeed, just 1 month lamang. And then, after 1 month ng gamutan na yan, nawala na yung breast milk ng wife ko. So hindi na maximize maximize ng anak ko yung mga immune factors kasi 1 month lang siya nakapag breastfeed. And ngayon ang anak ko may rhinitis, may asthma, sakitin, lagi namin dinadala sa house sa pedya, kaya konting stas lamang, nagkakaroon ng sipon, ubo. So it's highly likely because it's only 1 month. So after ng gamutan, hindi na talaga bumalik yung breast milk ng wife ko. So very unfortunate. Pero there will be some na up to 2 years nagbe-breastfeed. So very very interesting siya, no? So ang laki-laki ng immune factors na na-donate do sa anak. Okay, so that will be positive. Dagdag dami yung breast milk. Now when we talk about naman yung negative feedback, ito, kung positive dagdag, ang negative naman, bawas. So this feedback mechanism with the signal, it reduces. The response is to reduce that particular signal. And one example is eating yung bread, like the bread here in hamburger, may carbohydrates yan. We'll talk about that in the second quarter. Then, yung glucose from the carbohydrates, siyempre pag na-digest yan, tataas ngayon ang glucose level in our bloodstream. And that's actually dangerous kasi pwede kayong magkaroon ng shock, hyperglycemic shock, sobrang taas ng sugar, o kaya naman ay pwedeng mag-lead into diabetes or later on, lalo na kung continuously high ang glucose level in the bloodstream. So anong gagawin ng katawan? Kailangan ibaba, kailangan i-normalize. So the pancreas will now release a hormone, and I think you know the hormone. What's the hormone again? The hormone is letter I. It is alam yan. It is, yes, it's insulin. And the insulin, the hormone, will start to decrease the amount of sugar. Okay, so that's actually very important. That's example of negative feedback. So positive, ini-increase niya yung response or yung signal niya. Tapos naman yung negative naman, ibinababa niya as a response. Okay, can I see a crying reaction to naiintindihan yung discussion natin? Okay, thank you very much. At least naiintindihan. All right, so let's continue. Now, because of that, we now know that the male reproductive system hormonal control will be controlled by feedback mechanism. Kaya we will be looking at these three important parts. If this is the brain, we will be looking at the pituitary gland in the very middle. So this would be the hypothalamus in the very middle. May stalk dito, and then you have the pituitary gland, and particularly the anterior pituitary gland will be very helpful dito. So you talk about that in your Bio 1, alam na natin. Yeah. So ngayon, let's now go to the hormonal regulation of the male reproductive system. Here's a few minutes of those discussion, and then it will break down natin to after a few minutes. Okay, can I see a thumbs up if you're ready for the video?
In the male reproductive system, the brain secretes hormones that control the testes. And in particular, the region of the brain is the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus secretes one hormone that circulates to the anterior pituitary, causes the anterior pituitary to secrete two hormones, and those two hormones are going to target the testes. This is known as the brain-testicular axis. Let me show you a little more. More specifically, the hypothalamus releases a hormone. That hormone is gonadotropin-releasing hormone, or GnRH. GnRH targets the anterior pituitary, so it circulates to a nearby area, causing the anterior pituitary to release two hormones, luteinizing hormone, or LH, and follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH. Both of these hormones circulate to the testes and control secretion from the testes. If we take a close look at the structure of the testes, there are two major structural components of the testes. There are the interstitial cells. Those are the cells that are stained red here. They fill the gaps in between the seminiferous tubules. The interstitial cells produce testosterone. And then there are the seminiferous tubules. And the seminiferous tubules are the site of sperm production. Luteinizing hormone, LH, stimulates the interstitial cells, and FSH stimulates the seminiferous tubules. So luteinizing hormone from the anterior pituitary is going to stimulate the interstitial cells in the testes to produce testosterone. And testosterone is going to drive spermatogenesis, and it's also going to maintain secondary sex characteristics like increased hair growth, muscle growth, bone density, etc. Follicle-stimulating hormone that's coming from the anterior pituitary is going to stimulate the sustentacular cells. Those are the structural cells that are found within the seminiferous tubules, the ones that don't turn into sperm cells. It's going to stimulate the sustentacular cells to release a hormone called androgen-binding protein. And the effects of androgen-binding protein are to enhance the ability of the spermatogenic cells to bind to testosterone. So in other words, androgen-binding protein is going to allow all of the cells that are undergoing meiosis to bind more readily to testosterone, and that's going to drive spermatogenesis. Okay, so let's recap this and talk a little bit more about the regulation of these hormones. We know that the hypothalamus releases GnRH starting at puberty. That's going to stimulate the anterior pituitary to release two hormones, LH and FSH. LH is going to have its effect at the level of the interstitial cells in the testes, causing testosterone production, whereas follicle-stimulating hormone is going to stimulate the sustentacular cells, part of the seminiferous tubule, to release a hormone called androgen-binding protein, and that's going to help drive spermatogenesis. So there are actually 3 hormones that are secreted by the testes. We've talked about 2 of them so far. So we've talked about testosterone coming from the interstitial cells. We talked about androgen-binding protein coming from the sustentacular cells. And the 3rd hormone that's secreted by the testes is a hormone called inhibin, and that hormone comes from the sustentacular cells. Inhibin is released by the sustentacular cells as a gauge of how many sperm are in the testes. And so if there is a high sperm count, a lot of inhibin is released, and if there is a low sperm count, low amounts of inhibin are released. So in other words, inhibin is a gauge of the amount of sperm that's there, and it's released in direct proportional amounts to the numbers. The effect of inhibin is that inhibin inhibits follicle-stimulating hormone. So think about that. This hormone, inhibin, is going to turn off FSH. And so if we had a lot of sperm in the testes, we probably want to slow down sperm production. If we have a high sperm count, that means that there's going to be high inhibin and high inhibition of FSH, which means that the cells that are undergoing meiosis are not going to be able to bind to the testosterone that's there as well, and that's going to slow down sperm production compared to if we had a low sperm count. If there was a low sperm count, then we would have low amounts of inhibin, we'd have very little inhibition on FSH, which means that FSH is free to stimulate the sustentacular cells to release androgen-binding protein, and that androgen-binding protein is going to stimulate spermatogenesis, or in other words, sperm production will occur quicker. So this is a interesting little scheme where the amount of androgen-binding protein and the rate of spermatogenesis is going to be regulated independent of testosterone production, because we don't want testosterone levels to go up and down and waver all over the place. Once the person starts secreting testosterone, those levels are going to stay pretty steady throughout the person's life.
Gagawin natin, we're gonna break this down para mas madaling intindihin natin with the remainder of our time para mas maintindihan na. Let's break it down. Hindi tayo sasayaw pero isa-isahin lang natin to. Okay, so first of all, again, the 3 important parts of the male hormonal control, the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary gland, and the gonad. So we saw already that the hypothalamus will be releasing a hormone, and that hormone will be affecting the anterior pituitary gland, and the anterior pituitary gland on its own, in return, will produce 2 important hormones that will be affecting the gonad. So, ano yan, apektuhan lang na apektuhan siya. So, what are those hormones? Now, the hypothalamus, the first initial hormone would be called the gonadotropin releasing hormone, or GnRH. Sir, kailangan ba memorizein yon? Pwede ba GnRH lamang? Kailangan nyo memorizein yung GnRH mismo. Kasi you're gonna be using that also pagdating sa college. So gonadotropin releasing hormone. So this one will be produced by the hypothalamus. And then, the gonadotropin releasing hormone will be affecting the anterior pituitary gland, as we have shown a little while ago. Ngayon, pag na-affectuhan na siya ng GnRH, in turn, it will produce 2 hormones at the same time. One is the luteinizing hormone, and the other is follicle-stimulating hormone. So, dalawa yan. Ngayon, ang luteinizing hormone will affect the testes, and the follicle-stimulating hormone will affect the testes then, but they will be affecting different parts of the testes. Now, if you remember yung drawing na ito, this would be the seminiferous tubule. Outside of this, at tandaan niyo pa ba yung part ng testis? Ano yung outside ng seminiferous tubule? Letter L. You call that as what kind of cells? You call that as the, right, please write down. Yes, the Leydig cells. Tandaan niyo sa ating discussion, kaya importante yung 4.1. The Leydig cells actually are the ones that produces the testosterone. Kaya anong ginagawa ng luteinizing hormone? The luteinizing hormone will then affect the Leydig cells so that it will be producing testosterone, as you can see over in the next slide. So the interstitial cells, which are actually the Leydig cells, will be very important to produce the testosterone. So yung testosterone na yan, important siya for sperm production. Kaya actually that's the objective of the whole male reproductive system, to produce the sperm cells. But in addition to that, the testosterone is also important para i-develop yung male characteristics. Malaki yung body, malaki ang muscular mass, the bone mass, bumababa yung boses, nagkakaroon ng hair production. So all of those will be secondary characteristics of the male. Kaya ito ay importante na may testosterone in order to produce these characteristics. So ang ibig sabihin niyan, hindi pwede na ang testosterone ay akyat baba, nagfa-fluctuate. Otherwise, baka nagfa-fluctuate din yung development ng male body. Baka hindi masyadong mature ang development. Kaya dapat ay constant ang amount ng testosterone. Question, is that negative or positive feedback? Can you write in the chat box? Kailangan ay constant yung production. Hindi pwedeng bumababa, hindi pwedeng masyadong mataas, hindi kailangan nagpa-fluctuate, kundi dapat ay constant siya, or it is continuously being produced. Okay, anong tawag doon? Is it the negative or the positive feedback mechanism? Ang clue ninyo, ibinababa ba? Yes, it's the positive feedback mechanism. So this is related with that one. Tama, positive siya. How about the follicle-stimulating hormone? You already have the testosterone. Anong trabaho nito? Ang trabaho na ng follicle-stimulating hormone is to affect the inside, the seminiferous tubule, particularly yung sustentacular cells. Sustentacular comes from the word sustenance, and sustenance is a synonym for nutrition. Diba? Ano yung cells inside the seminiferous tubules that are for nutrition ng sperm cells? You call that as, ano ulit yan? If you still remember 4.1, write in the chat box. Do you call that as letter S? Ano ulit yun? It's called the, let me just check, baka nag-type na kayo. O nalimutan na? It is the S, Sertoli cells. Kaya itong yung dalawang cells na yan, the Leydig cells produces testosterone, and the Sertoli cells that will be important for nutrition of the sperm cells are actually affected by those hormones. So anong ginagawa ng follicle-stimulating hormone? I-stimulate niya sustentacular cells, the Sertoli cells, para mag-produce ng another hormone, the tertiary level hormone, androgen binding protein. By the name itself, it binds androgen. Ano yung androgen? Testosterone. Since alam natin ng testosterone ay pinapataas niya ang sperm production, the more testosterone or androgen are binding to this particular part of the cell, the seminiferous tubulus, mas maraming pumapasok na testosterone doon, mas dumadami ang sperm production. So that will be obtaining the objective to produce sperm cells by the reproductive system. Can I say a heart reaction kung naintindihan nyo so far yung hormonal control? Okay, very good. Kaya pagdating dito, it enhances spermatogenic cells para mag-bind sa kanilang testosterone, thereby stimulating spermatogenesis. Ngayon, there is a danger na kailangan kasi kontrolin kasi maaari na sobrang dami ng testosterone at pumapasok. Ano nangyayari? Ang dami-dami na yung sperm cells na na-produce. In order to effect a pregnancy, 300 million sperms would be needed. Madami na actually yun. But it can even go higher. 400, 500, 1 million sperm cells. Pero anong mangyayari? Hindi na kailangan. It's not needed anymore. Sobra-sobra na. Kaya sayang ang resources ng katawan. So anong kailangan gawin? In order to prevent wastage, kailangan ay ibaba ang production ng sperm cell at around 300 billion sperms. Wag nang pasobrahin. Anong kailangan? It needs to stop the sperm cell production, which means kailangan i-stop ang androgen binding protein, which means kailangan i-stop ang follicle stimulating hormone. So ano nagsa-stop niyan? It is the job of the inhibin. So ang Sertoli cells at the same time producing androgen binding protein, sabay na pinoproduce yung inhibin. And by the name itself, it inhibits the sperm production by inhibiting the follicle-stimulating hormone, and also inhibits yung anterior at saka yung hypothalamus, as we will see a little bit later. So ano nangyayari dito? Take note na habang nagpo-produce yung Sertoli cells ng ABP, tumataas din yung production ng inhibin. Hanggang sa dumating that there is now a cap, dumating na yung point na, ay, so sobra na, hindi na kailangan, then the inhibin will now start to inhibit production of the, what we call this, production of the sperm cells. Kaya, pag mababa yung sperm count, mababa yung inhibin. Habang tumataas yung amount ng sperm cells, tumataas din yung amount ng inhibin din. But when it reach na sobrang dami na ng sperm cells, madami na rin ang kanyang inhibin, it will now begin to stop the production of the sperm cells. Okay, can I see a thumbs reaction if naiintindihan natin yung part na yan? Okay, very good. So let me just show you the last 2 slides na lamang. Kaya makikita natin dito that the inhibin will stop the follicle stimulating hormone. So let's look at this one. Pag sobra-sobra ng production ng testosterone, kunwari sumobra na talaga siya, it is possible na ititigil niya yung anterior pituitary gland sa hypothalamus. So there is a negative feedback mechanism on this part pagka sobra na talaga ang testosterone. Pero syempre, minimaintain na yan. Ang inhibin naman, anong nangyayari? It will stop the anterior pituitary gland to produce the FSH and LH. So that will be the negative feedback mechanism. Pero yung positive naman, yung anterior magpo-produce ng FSH at saka LH, luteinizing hormone, kasi kailangan ng certain amount of testosterone naman talaga. Yung FSH, kailangan naman na androgen binding protein, so it is a positive kasi ini-increase niya yung amount ng positive at amount ng hormones na ito. Okay, so that ends the whole discussion. Can I see a thumbs up kung naiintindihan natin more or less yung ating discussion? Okay, very good. So I will be stopping here. Tapos, since